All right, so we're going to talk about objections tonight because we all get them. And I have learned over my 2 years to love objections. And the reason why I've learned to love them is because I use them to post. I also use them to know that that's where I need to go get my education on the products. Because if somebody's giving me an objection that I don't know how to handle, that triggers me to go and look in the coach office or Google or YouTube University or whatever it takes for me to figure out what the heck to say to these people or become educated on it so that I'm confident in talking to them about it. So I've learned to love objections because I'm super confident in what we have as a product because I know a lot about it and I'm willing to do it every day and it's worked for me. So being a product of the product is the most important part of what you're doing because that provides credibility. So if you're a product of the product, whether it's financially, physically, mentally, emotionally, or all of the above, which I am a product of all of those things, then people can't combat your story. You're showing your story. So your posts online turn objections into posts. I do it all the time and it's so effective. I almost always get several people reaching out to me whenever I do an objection as a post because they're like, oh, I was skeptical too, or oh, I didn't think that I could afford it either, or I didn't think I don't think I have time for it either, So those are all things that we all kind of go through. And so I wrote down a few of my big objections that I get, and I want you guys to, after I tell you my list, to tell me if you have others that you're getting so that we can talk about those too. So price is like the biggest objection I think that everybody gets. And then time, space. I get that a lot. Like I don't have enough space. We'll talk about that in a second. That's a super easy one to combat because that's an excuse. That's not an objection. And then I've tried it before and it didn't work. And I think those are the biggest ones that I get. Are there any others that you guys get that I didn't mention? Oops. You're all
Well, Sarah, what you're talking about. No. Never mind. I was going to say something about, like how we have those ones who are like getting divorced or like super, like they're like too sad to do it, like kind of like they're having, I don't know how you would, but that's super personal. I don't know about that. Sarah, you hit mute.
You're going to get that. I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
it's an emotional objection. No, that's definitely an example. You're going to get that a lot. So that's a good one to talk about. So remind me of that because I don't have that one written down on my paper. Hey, Ainsley. So
I'm driving, sorry.
That's okay. I'll just really quick. I just went through my list of objections and I'll just tell you so that you can add any. We had one is emotional objection. So like if they're going through something really difficult, they're not ready to start. So that's one that we get a lot. And then price, not enough time, the amount of space they have to work out, and they've tried it before and it didn't work. Those are my five major.
Yeah. And they don't like people who don't like home.
They don't
like not making home workouts, or they like group. Because one of mine was I like group workout. Yeah. Like I like
the gym. So that's an easy one too, because you can bring these workouts to the gym. And also if somebody's super into the gym and they're getting the results that they want, then they're probably not going to be stalking your page, right? So
and like class workout style type
I
stuff.
just got another one. I just thought of another one that is also a big objection is people want to eat their food.
Yeah. There's
people want to eat their food?
Yeah, like they don't want to drink shakes because they want to eat.
Did you say
I was like, what?
Did you say the unsupportive spouse one?
Nope. That's a coaching objection. I guess I didn't think about coaching objections for tonight. I was more doing like, but that's a good one. So we'll talk.
You do have that as a client, because if the husband is saying no, they just back out from about to purchase it.
That's
I struggled with that. I had to convince Michael to let me spend $170.
Right. In the financial side. Yeah.
so that's another good one. So we'll talk about that too. And if you guys, the number one thing I'm going to say to you guys tonight is, first of all, what I just said was be a product of the product, and then you can share your story, because that's the most credible that you can be in battling objections. But the next thing that I'm going to say is be educated on the products and make sure that you use your own story. Like literally using your own story when you're talking in conversation with people is the best way to talk about it, because you can't help but be honest about it and, tell them real life experience about what you've been doing and how you battled that objection. I had almost all of these objections except for the supportive spouse one, but I took 2 years to sign up because I was super skeptical about shakes. I was super skeptical about anything on the internet. That's another one that I get. I had tried some programs before and they did not work for me. I didn't think I had time because I had 2 nursing jobs. And I guess the space one I never really cared about. I never gave that as an excuse. But those are all things that I legitimately thought about and said no to for 2 years. So I speak to those objections because I had them. So using your own story is the most powerful thing that you can do in talking to people and developing these relationships. So the price objection. Here's a couple of points that I know I've probably told you guys some of them before. Maybe, I don't know about you guys, but hearing things more than once sometimes helps me get it in my head, because there's so much to Beachbody and, owning your own business online and stuff and getting to know social media and all that stuff. I like to hear some of these basic things a bunch of times, because then I'm like, okay, it's going to soak in now. I can use these things. But so for price objection, make sure you're educated on the value of Shakeology. I am going to share in the chat right now a link for you guys that you should save. Just a second. This is Darren Olian is the creator of Shakeology. And he did a call for a team, and I watched it early on in my business, and it was so helpful to me. Make sure you can see it. Okay, so that is something. He tells you about all of the ingredients and how they're sourced. You will get all the time, because Shakeology is organic and it's fair trade, but it's not certified. And the reason why it's not certified is because they don't want to take away from the small farmers all over the world that they get these ingredients from to make them get certified, because they won't be able to afford to get certified and still, continue their farming. So that's why it's not fair trade certified, but it is fair trade ingredients. And they take an ungodly amount of months approving, when they were making Shakeology, approving the ingredients from each of these farms. And they also travel to these farms all the time to make sure that things are still up to par the way that they left them, so that the value of the ingredients doesn't go down. So he talks a lot about that. He also talks about why Shakeology costs what it costs, and why that's never going to change, which is very important to know, because if you know that, you can talk about it. And then he also talks about what some of the ingredients do for you. So for me, when I educated myself on Shakeology, the part I loved about Shakeology, which I didn't realize until I was off of it for a couple of days, is how much natural energy it actually does provide me to get through my day. And ashwagandha mushrooms are one of the biggest ingredients in there that helps you with energy. And so I did a ton of research on that. I was like, I want to know why Shakeology gives you energy if it doesn't have all these big caffeine things in it. You know what I mean? And so I did that. So if something about Shakeology that you like, how your hair grows or your nails grow or your skin looks, look up some of the ingredients and figure out what ingredients are helping you most with those things. And you can talk about that in your posts. People will ask you about it. You're educated on it. So watch that video. And then also, so for price objections, I always talk about my own story. I didn't sign up for 2 years because I didn't think I could afford it. And I was also super skeptical about anything online. And when I finally came to the decision I was going to start it, what I did was I reevaluated my day. I was having like a Starbucks latte all the time. I was buying stuff for lunch because I wasn't meal prepping, and it could cost me upwards of $20 a day to eat all of the things that I was buying out, or more if we went out for dinner, which we did a lot before. And so when I finally decided I was going to sign up, I was like, I'm just going to stop doing those things for a month and see if I save up the money for it. And if I don't, at least probably I'll lose some weight because I'm getting healthier. That was my mindset going into it right before I signed up. So what I said to that was, I was like, when I talk to people about it, I'm like, those are the things I did. And by the end of that month, not only did I have enough to sign up, but I realized that even spending $160 on a challenge pack for a full year of fitness is really not that much, but you get so much more than just the fitness in that, right? So if you break that down, it's really not that expensive for your first 30 days. And there's a money back guarantee. So if you don't like it, you should return it. And I tell people that before I sign them up. I literally say in a voice message, hey, you know, there's really nothing to lose in trying it, because even if you drink all the Shakeology, you can crumple up the bag and send it back and get all your money back. And I want you to do that if you truly don't like it, because I don't want people to be on the team that don't like it, you know? So when you say that, it builds confidence in them to be like, okay, well, at least I can try it. And if I don't like it, I'll send it back. That was me. I told Alora I was probably going to send it back because I probably wasn't going to like it. So that's how I kind of handle that. And then also I use the little breakdown of the daily cost per day a lot. Because once people see that it, even as a discount coach, it's less than $4 a day, they're like, holy shit, like that's really not that much. Like I spend $4 a day on a lot of other things that I probably am not getting healthier with. And same thing, if you're a customer, it's under $5 a day. So those are some of the things that I use. What else? I want to make sure that I don't miss anything here. So I think those are the major things that I use for price objections. I also sometimes say, hey, have you ever thought, if somebody has been really invested in a conversation with me for a long time and they really want to try it, but they really say they just can't afford it, but they really want to, then I say, have you ever thought about doing what I'm doing and earning your money back? Because everybody has the potential of earning their money back, right? So if you sign up 2 people with Shakeology or a challenge pack, you've earned your Shakeology back every month. If you sign up a 3rd, you've made a profit. So signing up 3 people a month, it doesn't sound like that much. If you put the work in, it doesn't sound like that much, right? So I have oftentimes said that, and they're like, oh, no, but maybe I should, because if I really, really want to do something, then maybe that's worth the effort. So does anybody else have anything else that they say that I didn't say for price objection? I think I might have you all muted, sorry. Unmute. Oops. Or, oops, sorry, Jilly. I think we just.
Sorry, no, Livy. I was just muting here because Livy's paying.
That's okay. So if you guys have any cool stuff that you say, don't be afraid to like share it, because I'm, you know me, I'm always like excited to have other people's, you know, like what they're doing, because I like taking little golden nuggets from everybody. So the next big objection that I get is that they tried it before, and because Shakeology and Beachbody's been around for 20 years, right? So I get that I tried it before and it didn't work for me. I love that excuse. I immediately say, what didn't work for you? And was it that you needed accountability? Did you have an active coach? I always ask that, because if they signed up with, you can't buy Beachbody stuff on Amazon anymore. You're not supposed to be able to, but for a long time you could buy stuff on Amazon, right? And so what would happen is you would still go through the Beachbody website and you would get assigned a leads coach, but your leads coach might not be that active. They might not have contacted you. So they may have never known that they had a coach at that time. And so most of the time people will be like, no, I didn't have a coach. I don't need a coach. I don't want a coach, whatever they say. And I'm like, oh, because that was a total game changer for me. And again, I turned back to my story. I'm like, I tried it before too, and it didn't work for me because I just got the DVDs and I was like, okay, I'll just do it. I'll try it, whatever. I didn't follow the nutrition plan. I didn't have anybody holding me accountable. I wasn't showing up to any groups. I didn't have anybody to lean on for extra support or have if I had questions. So that's why it didn't work for me. So that was a huge game changer for me. I talked about that, and most people are like, yeah, you know what? If I had somebody holding me accountable on my ass every day, I probably would show up more. I probably would have had better results. So that's how I talk about that, because I get that a lot. I don't know if you guys get that a lot. But the other one I get is that they're doing a different kind of shake or a different kind of program. I get that a lot. A lot of Isogenics, Herbalife, Juice Plus, or whatever, you name it, you got it. I've heard it. My biggest piece of advice for that is do your homework. Figure out what these other products are. I can tell you right now something about all of them that Shakeology is better in. And I have them like committed to memory because I will fly back with it. I'm like, so first of all, Herbalife has a whole bunch of lawsuits going on because they claim that they are something that they're not. They also have high fructose corn syrup in them. That's why they can have all those weird flavors and all that shit. So those are two major things. And I, as a nurse, I'm just not cool with putting stuff like that in my body. I've done it before, but that's what I say to that. And they're like, oh, I didn't know it had corn syrup in it. I also didn't know it had horse hooves in it or whatever that ingredient is. So that's what I say about Herbalife. Isogenics is really expensive. It's like $9 a shake, and it's a liquid diet. I then talk about how Beachbody provides a holistic view of changing your life. You get fitness, you get nutrition, you get recipes, you get support, you get accountability, and you get community. That's what you get. Out of all of those other things, you don't get any of the other stuff. It's just shakes or just fitness. You know, like one of the big ones right now is for fitness is the Les Mills Body Pump, which are great workouts. But you don't get all of the other stuff that comes with Beachbody. So it's just the workout, and then you separately have to figure out your meal plans and things like that. I know Letty did Les Mills, and she loved it.
The on-demand, they also have the on-demand, but you have to have the freaking equipment. So you have to have the bar, all the weights, your bench, you name it. Yeah. And you decide to go to the gym because it's going to be too much money to invest just to do it from home. So
right. So so when you get that they're doing something else, the biggest thing is to don't be afraid to research it and figure it out. And you don't have to answer them right away every time. You know, you can go and do your homework and come back and leave that message unread. Do you guys all know how to make a message on Facebook unread again after you've already looked at it? You should do that. So I do it all the time because I'm like a freak about answering people's messages. I don't know if you guys can tell or anything, but side note, but I just can't stand it. Like I can't stand to not know what they're saying. So I look at it, and after I look at it, if I'm not ready to answer it, they just changed. Actually, it just updated. So it's a different way now, but you can click the message, hold it down, and then slide to the left, and some little lines will come up, and you can push mark as unread. And Jade's mind was just
Sorry.
So then it goes in your unread messages, so you know to go back to it, so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle of all your messaging. So that's one thing that I use a lot. Okay, so the next one that I get a lot is time. Like I don't have time for either coaching or working out or eating healthy. I am a firm believer that you make time for what you want. So we have everything from a 10-minute workout to a 90-minute workout and 700 choices in between. So if you don't have 10 minutes for yourself, I'm sorry, we've got to reevaluate life or something, because everybody has 10 minutes. The 10-minute trainer by Tony Horton will make you sweat. I made Letty do one of the workouts with me one time. It was like we had worked out together, and then I made her do the 10-minute ab one. She F-bombed me at the end of it. That's how hard it was at 10 minutes. So if you don't have 10 minutes to work out, you probably just don't really want to be fit or work on your health. No time for meal prep. Bullshit. Because you know what? When I had 2 jobs and all of you guys work and have kids and, do a million things, you guys are all making it work. Talk about your own story. Talk about your own story. I save time with meal prep because I cook 1 or 2 times a week for an hour or 2 max. I mean, I eat a lot of the same things. I'm kind of a boring food person, honestly. But, once or twice a week cooking for an hour or 2, and then I really don't have that many dishes to do either for the rest of the week. And you guys who have kids, it's much different. I realize that. But for me and Ethan, I literally run the dishwasher like every couple of days because all my meals are prepped. So when my meal containers go in there and it fills up, like, that's great. So I talk about that, and I just grab and go. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to stress about it. I have my food at work. And when I'm at home working, that's when I'll cook like a meal that I haven't prepped. You know what I mean? Like I'll have an egg breakfast or something else like that. But I don't agree with I don't have time. Everyone can make the time, because there's chances are you were just scrolling the internet, which is how you came across my post. And that probably took you about an hour. Let's face it. So you probably could have cooked your meals. And
And also, I feel like it's made me go to the grocery store less.
Yep. Because you're eating what you have, and you have a plan, and like
you're just prepared. Yeah.
Exactly. And I save money going to the grocery store and eating what I have than like getting bummed out because I don't have anything ready and I don't want to cook, and then I end up just like ordering wings and a pizza or going out to eat because it's easy. Okay, going out to eat one time is half of my grocery bill. So it saves me money. And it's just not having the time is just not really, it's kind of just an excuse. It's not an objection. So anytime I think something's just an excuse, I dig in, like, what do you mean you don't have time? What's causing you to not have time? And people will say, well, I work 16 hours a day. I'm like, okay, so do you have a day off? Because that's the day you should be preparing for all these 16-hour shifts that you're working. Most people aren't working 16-hour shifts every day. So it's an excuse, not an objection. Next is, I don't have the space. Okay, if you have enough space to do a plank in both directions, you have space to do these workouts. You can modify the space. If you don't have space to do a plank in both directions, we should probably reevaluate your cleaning and organizing. Maybe that's what we need to work on first, because you should have a space in your house where you can do a plank in each direction. One space. That's all you need. When Ethan and I first started, we were doing it downstairs in our living room because this whole upstairs space wasn't here. And we pushed the coffee table into the kitchen and all the furniture back as far as we can. We hit each other's arms all the time, and like we still made it work. So, I mean, let's be real. You probably do have the space. It's probably, again, an excuse. You can dig a little deeper. Ask them, what do you mean you don't have the space? All you need is enough space to do a plank in both directions. And they're like, really? That's what I usually get. And I'm like, yes, truly. And then people say to me all the time, I don't have weights. Most of our programs, you don't need anything. At least half of the programs that we have, I think more, but at least half of them are body weight. And a lot of times people don't need to start with weights anyway, because they're not, they'll build up to it. I did my first 6 months without any weights at my house. So again, I go back to my own story and talk about it. You can get weights at Walmart for very little money too, or any place. Like you can get them online for little 5-pounders for like $10, So that's what I do. That's what I talk about with space. Let me unmute you guys. Oh, maybe you're not muted. Oops. There you go.
I
Amy.
muted myself. Michael was making a shake.
Oh.
It was real loud.
Oops. Julie, I can't unmute yours. Yeah, there you go. Are you? Letty? How come I can't unmute anybody? Anyway. So do you guys have, let's talk about the supportive spouse. So sometimes this happens. I don't have personal experience with this one, but I have a lot of people who have on the team. Alora was one of them. So sometimes I'll refer to her. Ainsley's one of them. So you can refer to her also. I think Maggie had a little trouble in the beginning with spouse support. But sometimes it just takes a conversation, honestly. And you can talk about the money back guarantee. You can talk about, how I always say, like, well, you have to also provide the value for them, how happy it's going to make you to try something new, and if your spouse is really not supportive of your happiness, I mean, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what else to say about that, but in my experience, most of the time, Alora's husband still does not think that she should work this full time, but she's made a full-time income out of it for 5 years. So she hasn't let it stop her, and although he doesn't participate anymore, I don't think he naysays it anymore. So including your spouse is also a big one, because if you're including them, they don't feel like you're doing something by yourself, like, oh, she's getting fit by herself, So I think I basically didn't give Ethan an option. So poor Ethan, but like, I was like, I'm doing this, and he was like, okay, like, I guess I'll try it too, so, and he loves it now, but he does his own program. So that's another thing, is sometimes it just takes a conversation, and just letting them know how much it really means to you, that that you can get your money back. It doesn't necessarily mean you're roped into anything. There's no contract, things like that are things that you can tell people if they're having trouble with spousal support. The other thing is, you can just meet people where they're at. So if their spouse says no to Shakeology, say, what about BOD? That's fine. Like, just because it doesn't give us Success Club points, I think we get wrapped up in the Success Club points all the time, so we forget that sometimes, you still get a commission from BOD, but sometimes people aren't ready for the whole thing, or they really don't think that they can afford the entire thing. So just get them started and plugged into the groups, and that's going to take you really far, because you're going to show value, you're going to show support, and if somebody's really just not ready, I'm like, hey, how about a free recipe, or how about a free workout? That's what I always say to people at the end of the conversation. If it doesn't go the way that I would like it to go, then I just say, okay, awesome. You know what? I'm not going anywhere. I start my beginners boot camps once every month. So if you're ready next month, let's do it next month. And then, would you like a free workout to try at the gym next time you go? Or would you like this recipe that I just made this morning? And I might not have made it that morning, but like, no harm, no foul. Right. I have made it before, and I actually do have the recipe for it. I just might have made it last month. And so I happen to save all my pictures on my phone. Send them, hey, you want this blueberry buckle recipe? Send them that, and they're like, yeah. And then I just send it to them, and so once you create a message like that in your phone, you have it to use forever. So it's a little bit of work on the forend, but who cares about that, right? And you could honestly look up a recipe on Beachbody blog or something like that and share that with them. But providing value is really, really important to build a rapport and show that you're not in it to dig for the sale, because that's the biggest mistake you can make, and you won't be successful in it. Because if you're treating people like a sale, I know myself, if somebody was talking to me like they just wanted me to buy something and they didn't really care about what I actually had posted on my page, or what I was actually telling them, like listening to what their actual struggles are and providing value for that. So like, if they say, I'm really struggling with nutrition, be like, hey, try this free recipe. Because then you're not being like, oh, well, if you join my group, then I'll give you the recipes. Like, pay me first and then I'll give you the recipes. Like, that's not going to be successful. And so I don't approach any conversation like a sale at all. I approach it like a person that I'm going out to coffee with. This is literally what I picture in my head. Like, we're going out to coffee, and I'm just going to start talking to them about what I've been doing because I'm a product of the product, and they've been following my page and liking and commenting on my posts. So obviously they kind of know what I'm doing. So let's go sit down and have coffee, but like virtually on my phone. That's the mindset that I take into every conversation. And I think that that's brought me far as far as the business, because people don't, I'm afraid of being salesy. I think all of us are. I have attracted only people that are afraid of being salesy because that's how I am. So if you don't treat it that way, it won't come across that way. Another thing I want to share you, we have about 5 minutes left. So I wanted to let you guys ask questions, but I'm also going to share with you the National Wake Up Call from Chelsea Pearson is something you should watch. It was last year. I took like about 6 pages of notes from it, and I never forgot it. So I think it's really important, and it will be very helpful to you guys. So I just put it up in the chat. So you can just save that link and go to it. But she is one of the top coaches, and she has one of the top downlines, and she did a whole National Wake Up Call all on objections. So I learned a lot from it, and also I learned where I was lacking. And so I think that that's helpful too. So do you guys have any questions? Like what did I forget?
I struggle with answering an objection without sounding like I'm just trying to convince them. Like, I don't know how to not, sorry, my chicken's cooking. It's probably really loud.
I don't hear any chicken.
Oh, great. We're having chicken enchiladas for dinner. But
Yeah.
did you hear him?
No.
It's because they're already dead, Sarah.
Oh, well, whatever.
Whatever.
Cluck, cluck.
You're not funny, babe.
That was a dad joke. That was totally a dad joke.
All he has is that joke.
Anyway, so you don't want to go into convince mode. Is that what you're saying? Because
yeah, I don't know how, like, somebody's like, I don't have any money or whatever. It's like, I don't know how to be like, oh, like, I always say I felt the same way, but I still feel like I'm coming across as convincing. Like, I didn't either, but I did that, so you do that too. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, and part of that is our personality. You and I have a very similar personality, and so we've gathered all this information, and we're like, I just want to tell you, you actually can, right? Yeah. And so it's hard not to go there. And that book that I always talk about, Get Over Your Damn Self, helped me with that a lot. So I listened to it on Audible twice.
Yeah, I have it too. I'm not very far into it though.
You should listen to it because it really does tell you how to stay out of convince mode.
Okay.
And when I feel myself going into convince mode, I'm like, you know what? I think I need to take a break. Because usually I only go into convince mode now when I'm like exhausted, or I've talked to so many people in a day that I'm like, bleh, I just need to watch Netflix. You know, like I can't talk to another single soul about anything, not even my hair color, you know? So like sometimes you just need to take a break because we're saturating ourselves with it. But think about it like you don't want to convince someone. You just want to provide value. So I always try to start those things with, hey, you know what? I totally get it. I was there too. And I talk about my story.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I do.
And then I provide the value. And if they really still don't, that's when I come, okay, would you like a free recipe or free workout? Or, hey, I'm running a free group next week and let me pop you in it. And they're like, okay, cool. You know, so no harm, no foul. If you don't make a sale, it's okay. That's why we're not treating people like a sale.
Okay.
And it is hard to not go into convince mode, especially once you've learned a lot about what we have, because we're like, oh my God, we have so much value to offer. Does anyone have any other questions? We're less than a minute. So if this goes off and people are asking questions, we can just click the link again. No questions? Oh, we need to take a picture. Oh, almost forgot.
You gotta see my awful shirt I wore at work today.
Are you doing a picture or are you doing a boomerang? When
Let's
you
do
did
a
that
boomerang.
picture, what?
Let's do a boomerang.
Okay.
It's so much more fun.
Oh, God.
And we have like,
You're like shit. What?
we probably have like 10 seconds. So, all right, ready? 1,
You
2, 3. Oops.
What?
Oh, Jade.
I get so nervous during these.
I know.
know.
What do you do? What do you do?
It's like panic mode.
You know what? In a couple of months, we're all going to have our signature what we do, and it's going to be like legit in sync. We're going to take that on stage for sure. So just saying, my national wake-up call might be how to run awesome team calls. I mean, I'm just saying it might be. You guys know you can ask me anything anytime, but hopefully I helped a little bit